So last time we talked, we got into the reasons the Electoral College was formed and what it's like, the system that is in place, how it's structured. Um, and I even got into, and I kind of got off topic a bit, some of this section, issues with the Electoral College. And a great buddy of mine I grew up with used to always push for third parties. And I grew up in an era when there was a third party candidate who was really, really strong named H. Ross Perot. And I did not get to vote in 1992. I was 17. But my buddy did. He was a year older. We played on the basketball team together. And he was so excited about H. Ross Perot. And ever since then, he always pushed this third party thing. And I get it, right? I'm like, hey, maybe I don't want to have to choose between only two people. Maybe I would like to be able to choose from 3, 4, 10 people. In fact, in a lot of European countries and in Israel and in a lot of democracies around the world, they don't have an electoral system like we do. Actually, no one else does. They don't even have a straight two-party democracy. Oftentimes, you find what's called a parliamentary system, where there are 10 choices, 30 choices to choose from. And what happens is that no one gets 50%. No party gets 50%. But the the top 2 or 3 parties will form coalitions that add up to 50%. So let's say my party gets 30 and your party gets 15 and her party gets 10. We join together and now we're 55, right? And we're going to choose a president from my party because I got the most, but you're going to be part of the decision-making process. And it forces cooperation. You know, some would suggest that this is a much better system than ours. Our system's kind of old, right? It was written in the 1700s. It was written with considerations involving slavery, the awful institution that existed and in a time period when, as mentioned earlier, very few people or less than a low percentage of people, let's say, could read. It was a farm-based society. Maybe it's too old, but at the same time, no one wants to get rid of our Constitution. It's been great to us. Now, we can amend it, but we know it's really difficult to amend the Constitution, especially if you're asking people to give up power. But it seems like a two-party system, it forces these parties to not work together and instead to fight. And the way the Electoral College system is set up, if no one gets 270 Electoral College votes, which would be the majority, then the House of Representatives chooses the next leader. And that is way undemocratic. And in fact, that happened only once in our country's history. In 1824, John Quincy Adams got less votes and less popular votes than Andrew Jackson. But because of Henry Clay and this Crawford character, sorry, it was my phone blew up. It's like this COVID alert. Stay home. Okay. 2020, been so good to me. Sorry. It's still blowing up. Stop. Maybe your phones are blowing up too. Isn't it weird? It's a weird time. But anyways, so what happens is the House of Representatives gets to choose because no one hit the 50% mark of Electoral College votes. Okay. And therefore, they voted a bunch of times. They end up choosing John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams. This will be the first father-son duo ever to rule the country. Of course, the Bushes were next. I know you guys were young under Bush, but it was your lifetime. I got to live through both. And after that, mostly they pulled away from third parties. They said, why would we run on a third party? We're giving up our power. We're allowing the House of Representatives to choose. The people aren't choosing at all, not even electorally. So we usually have seen no third party. Now, there were moments in the civil rights movement when the southern states, the southeastern states, the states of segregation and of slavery, pulled away from the Democratic Party. because Harry S. Truman had desegregated the military in the 1940s. That made them mad. And for the next 20 years, they would on and off vote for third party candidates. In fact, the last time that a third party candidate won a state was in 1960 in the election of John Kennedy, I believe, when the third party candidate came in and won some of the southern states. It was a segregation forever candidate. It was George Wallace. Um, and then, of course, H. Ross Perot, I believe, when I was 17, he got like 12% of the vote. And some people say he pulled votes away from Bush the first. I don't know. But because of our electoral system, it makes it so that there won't ever really be a legit third option or fourth or fifth. And maybe it makes it so that the politicians can play the states against each other. Look, if I have to run a national campaign, I have to do what's popular across the whole country. But if I'm only focused on winning certain states in certain areas, I can focus on issues that are important in those states. So what we see is that oftentimes one of the political parties focuses on issues that are important to coastal states, to big cities. The other political party focuses on issues that are important to more rural states, more Central American states. And it does really cause a situation where there's very little working together and very little incentive to work together, because why would you? My state is going in this direction no matter what, so I'm just going to push the issues that will get my state and not focus on the country as a whole. So again, we're talking about issues here with the Electoral College, and we're coming up with a few as well. There's also been 4 times that the person who won the popular vote did not become president. Okay, that was, of course, 1876, Tilden versus Hayes. Tilden got the most votes, but Hayes became president. 1888, Cleveland versus Harrison. Cleveland got the most votes. Harrison won. Bush v. Gore, 2000. I was 25. Um, Gore got 500,000 more votes. Bush won. And then, of course, Clinton got 3 million more votes than Trump in 2016 in all of our lifetimes, but Trump won. Some would suggest that this is an issue as well, that there should never be a situation where the person with the most votes doesn't become president, that it just is wrong if we want to call ourselves a democracy. Um, and again, others would suggest that, oh, it's fair because we don't want the big states and cities to run the country. Well, guess what? LA's got 4 million people. New York has 7 million people. That's 11 million people. There are 300 plus million people in this country. That is 3% of the population. How could we suggest that the cities would run the show if they only represent 3% of the population? It makes no sense, but it's argument that's made because they're trying to make sense of a system and not say what they're really feeling, which is, I like the system because I get more power. And why wouldn't you? I like the way that Shaq got the calls in 2002 against Vlade in the post, because it got him to the line and he got those points that pushed us over the edge and allowed us to win that series, because I'm a Laker fan. So some would suggest that the Electoral College doesn't allow diversity of idea, allows an unpopular, less popular candidate to win, which has happened 5 times, including the John Quincy Adams election, that allows for politicians to play us against each other, and instead of trying to compromise, instead focus on our differences, and because that's politically expedient to them. All right. So yeah, again, this is just an academic discussion. I can't imagine that we ever have enough people to support an amendment to the Constitution, which would take 67% vote in the House and Senate, and 38 of the 50 states approving, ending a system which would ask most of those states to give up power. Just Probably doesn't make sense. I don't know if there's a legit fix. Oops, wrong button.